And welcome back to SWBA Today. And in today's episode, we're going to be recapping the play-in games that took place Friday. We're also going to be looking at the game ones that took place in the SWBA playoffs today. And then we're also going to be previewing a series that is taking place today, which is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, since that game at the time of this recording is currently going on. And then lastly, we'll be talking about Kenny Atkinson. He is now the SWBA Coach of the Year this year. And so let's go ahead and jump into the play-in situation that ended on Friday night. And let's start with the Miami Heat versus the Atlanta Hawks. And so I think that this was probably the game of the play-in. This game did go into overtime. It gave us everything that we wanted. It looked like the Miami Heat were going to run away with this game. And really, you just got a chance to see why I said that the Miami Heat are a tough out at this point in the year. They're just a tougher unit when it comes down to playing play-in playoff basketball. They turn it up another notch. And then I think that with Eric Spoelstra, he's maybe one of the best coaches left in the SWBA playoffs, because he's been to the top. He knows how to make adjustments, and he made some adjustments in this game. You got to give the Atlanta Hawks a ton of credit for coming back in this game. And so I think that Tyler Hero played like the all-star that he has been this season. 30 points. He had 8 rebounds and 7 assists. You got to give him a ton of credit. I think that probably the most valuable player for the Miami Heat was Davion Mitchell. I think that Davion Mitchell, his defense was exceptional against Trae Young. That's why they call him off night. And then I love the confidence that he showed down the stretch in overtime. I think a lot of people forget that he played at Baylor. That Baylor team won the national championship when he was in college. And so this guy is tough. He's built for those type of moments. I got to give Okongwu a lot of credit for the Atlanta Hawks. I think that, man, he showed us that he has an offensive bag. And I think that, look, as this Hawks team really adds to what they have now, they're going to be tough because he was able to knock down 3-point shots. And so I think he's come a long way since his time at Chino Hills, where he played with the Ball brothers in high school and played at USC. And so he had 28 points and 12 rebounds and 3 steals in this game. So ton of credit there. The Miami Heat advance, and they actually make history. That is the first time a 10th seed has now made it into the SWBA playoffs. So congratulations to the Miami Heat. So next up, we got the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Dallas Mavericks. And look, I can't say that I'm necessarily surprised about this, because going into this game, one of the things that I talked about was just that the Memphis Grizzlies play very well against teams that are sub 500. And coming into this game, the Mavs were sub 500. And then I talked about the fact that the Grizzlies are very good in transition buckets. And I think that that's exactly what they did. They really kind of ran the Mavs down. I think that there was just so much just lane touches for Ja Morant. I think that he did a terrific job as far as getting downhill. Didn't know what type of Ja Morant I was going to see out there due to the ankle injury, but I got to give him a ton of credit because he put so much pressure on the rim. And even when he missed, I think that Jaren Jackson Jr., you had Zach Edey, like a lot of these guys really ate off of that. And then if he wasn't, going up for a layup or distributing it, or they weren't getting it off the board for an easy basket that way, I think that the Memphis Grizzlies really did a terrific job as far as knocking down 3-point shots, because Desmond Bane, I felt like he was definitely on fire at one point. Then you had Scottie Pippen Jr. I thought that he played very well. And so this team, they just really ate the Dallas Mavericks up. And for the Mavericks, look, you got 40 points from Anthony Davis and 9 rebounds and 2 assists, but he was 16 of 29 in this game. He left the game twice, and there was no other real contributions for the Dallas Mavericks. And so, it's almost laughable when you start to think about them trading Luka Doncic, and just the fact that they traded him for defense, because that is the last thing that this team played was defense out there. And so, you got to give the Memphis Grizzlies a lot of credit for advancing. They're going to now be in the playoffs as well. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into game 1 and some of these recaps here. And so it was a great first day so far. Currently, we got the Lakers and we got the Timberwolves playing right now. And so let's go ahead and start with the first game of the day, and that was going to be the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Indiana Pacers. And so the Pacers take care of business in game one. And I think that I'm not necessarily shocked about the results in today's game. I'm curious to see how the series is going to play out. I think it's reported that Dame Lillard is expected to be back by game three. And so that's certainly going to change, I think, the course of the series that way. And ultimately speaking, what you're trying to do is you're just trying to win one game on the road. That's all you're trying to do. You're trying to steal home court. And so Milwaukee still has a chance to do that. And so I think in this game, you see that the Indiana Pacers really had it going with the others. I think that Pascal Siakam certainly stepped up in this one with the 25 points, the 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. He was 10 of 15, very efficient out there. But I was very impressed with what I saw off the bench. And so I think that Obi Toppin, I think that he gave him some good minutes. I liked what I saw from Jarius Walker, and I think that he necessarily didn't score the basketball like that, but still I think defensively he definitely presented some things that way, and I think that that's where the series is going to be at. And then you look at Benedict Mathurin. He played well off the bench. He had 13 points. He was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. TJ McConnell, he played very well. He had 11 off the bench too. And so I just think that this was a very good team effort for this team. And Tyrese Halliburton only had 10 points and 12 assists and 7 rebounds, but he was plus 27. And so very much quarterbacking this team. And then when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, look, they had Giannis score 36. He had 12 rebounds and he had 1 assist and 1 steal. He was negative 18. But I think that really what hurt the Bucks is the supporting cast. I mean, Taurean Prince, 0. You had Kyle Kuzma. He had 0. They had Jericho Sims play some minutes. He got 0. So they really didn't get too much of a contribution from their bench. And I think that this is where Doc Rivers is going to have to make some adjustments. I think that he's going to have to utilize Pat Covington. I think that Dame Lillard is going to be huge when he does get back in this series. And I think that Giannis is going to have to get some more just production from the rest of the team, because the way that the Pacers played him in the first game, it was beautiful because they kind of walled him up, but then they gave him different looks. And so at times he was able to blow by his defender. Sometimes they were stunning. Sometimes it was kind of like a little bit of a zone, kind of the way that they were kind of zoning out and stuff like that. And I think that they just did an outstanding job in just taking away other things that really the Milwaukee Bucks could do out of that action. And so I think that Doc Rivers is going to have to make an adjustment there. We'll see what they do in game 2 as the Pacers beat the Bucks 117-98 there. And so next up, the next game that took place was the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets. And I must say that, look, the Clippers, this is a game in which they absolutely should have had this game. I think that you do have to give the Denver Nuggets a ton of credit. I think that now, look, they have like maybe the most games after most comeback wins after being down 15 points or more since 2019. So you do have to give the Denver Nuggets a ton of credit there. They definitely turned it on. But I think that this was a game in which the Clippers absolutely should have won. The way that Kawhi Leonard was playing, the way that James Harden was playing as well, I think that they definitely should have got this one, because Kawhi was on a mission. He had 22 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had 2 assists. He had 2 assists, 3 steals as well in 41 minutes. You had James Harden, 32 points in this. He had 11 assists and 6 rebounds. Zubac had 21. Norman Powell had 12. Chris Dunn had 10 as well. Like, he played very good. And so, I think that when you look at the way that Denver was able to just really get more physical after, I think, quarter number 1, and then they started to kind of ramp it up, that changed things. They got James Harden into some foul trouble. That changed things. And then what I'm seeing with this Clippers team that worries me against the Denver Nuggets is, what are they going to do if they do get Zubac into some trouble, or if you do get James Harden or Kawhi into some trouble? I think that that's where it gets really shaky with this Clippers team, because once either of those guys go off the floor, I think that this Clippers team, they kind of get into trouble a little bit. And that speaks a lot to that team, because the Denver Nuggets, they have a terrible bench. They really do. And I think that you got to give them a ton of credit because of the adjustment that they made. They stagger it in a way where the Joker is not off the floor that long, and then also too, Jamal Murray is not off the floor that long too. So it's an interesting balance the way that they do it. And then I think that Russell Westbrook really saved them today, and they shortened the rotation, and he responded very well. He hit a big three-pointer late in this game. He had 8 rebounds, and so I think that that was his superpower today. So Russell Westbrook, huge on the boards. 3 assists, 15 points, plus 7, 5 of 17 from the field. Didn't necessarily shoot the ball that well, but when they needed it, he got it done. And then I just think with Nikola Jokic, man, he did everything for this team. 29 points, the 12 assists, and the 9 rebounds. I feel like Jamal Murray got clutch for this team when they needed it. 21 points for him, 9 rebounds and 7 assists. And you got to give Christian Brown a lot of credit as well. I think that he knocked down some good ones. And so it's going to be interesting to see this series. I think it is going to go 6. The Clippers must find a way to get game 2, because I just think that this was a very disappointing loss. And then when you look at the turnovers, I think that that was also another key to the game, because the Clippers really beat themselves in that department. They turned the ball over 20 times, comparatively speaking, to the Denver Nuggets 11. So just not very good decision-making for the Clippers in this one. And so next up, the next game that took place was the New York Knicks versus the Detroit Pistons. And so this is a game, much like we just talked about with the Clippers, a game in which I think the Pistons should have had this game. They were up in this game going into the fourth. They were playing with a ton of confidence. And this just makes me think a little bit about this Rockets and Golden State series coming up, which we're going to talk about that tomorrow as we preview those games. But this is what I was trying to talk about on the SW Today, just this last week, about just the experience factor. And, you know, it's just one of those things that, yes, the only way you get through it is you have to experience it. But unfortunately, for some of these younger teams that haven't been there before versus teams that have been there before, this is what happens to you. This was a huge run by the New York Knicks. And I'm not sure that the New York Knicks are really built that way as far as going out and putting on, just huge outbursts out offensively. It's just, that's not this team's identity. They want to lock you up. They want to make it a low scoring game. And so for them to have just the type of fourth quarter that they had was just interesting in this one. And I think that you have to give OG Anunoby a lot of credit, because not only did he come out scoring and really carrying the Knicks in the first half with the 23 points and the 7 rebounds, and then also too, just the 4-4 from the free throw line, but defensively, he was all over Cade Cunningham. He had 5 steals in this game. Defensively, he made it tough for Cade Cunningham. He scored 21, did Cade Cunningham, but that was a tough 21 points. And this is what it's like to defend at a high level in the SWBA, because, you know, players are going to score. I mean, that's just what they do, but it's how they scored. And Cade Cunningham struggled. I mean, 8 of 21 in this one, 1 of 4 from deep. Yes, he made some plays. He had the 12 assists, but I was really impressed with the defense that I saw from the Knicks around him today. And then when you look at Karl Anthony Towns, I think it was a slow start for him. He knocked down some big shots late in this one, 23 points, 11 rebounds. Jalen Brunson did go down, it looked like, with an ankle injury. It came back. You know, he said that he was fine in the post game, but he had 34 in this one and 8 assists. So I was impressed with the way that he came back. Got to give Cameron Payne a lot of credit with him coming off the bench. Remember, here's a player that played for the Phoenix Suns when they made their run to the SWBA finals. He played well there. He played well today for the Knicks. And then for the Pistons, look, I think that this was terrific experience for the younger players. I was very impressed with Asor Thompson. I think that he played well. He had a highlight in this one. Cade, I think that he fought through it as much as possible. And look, they took away Jalen Duren, who is, I think, one of the better bigs in the SWBA. He only had 7 points in this game and 6 rebounds. And so that's a testament to how well the Knicks did just keeping him off the boards and just defensively making it tough, for this team. You do have to give the veterans credit for the Pistons. I think that this is why they're going to be tough. Tobias Harris had 25 points in this when he was 5 of 5 from the free throw line, knocked down some 3-point shots. And then also, too, maybe the sixth man of the year. Malik Beasley had a really good game in this one. He had 20 points. He 6 of 12 from downtown, 7 of 16 from the field. So impressed with what he did. Tim Hardaway Jr., another one of these veterans. He played well in the moment, 19 points today, really did some good things in transition for this team. But I think that this is maybe more about the Pistons kind of giving this away, not to take anything away from the Knicks, but I expect for the Pistons to come back here in game 2, and hopefully they can get a game in Madison Square Garden. And so next up, the next thing that we want to talk about, since they're already playing, and that is going to be the game series, or the series preview, I should say, for the Lakers and the Timberwolves. And so look, right now, currently, I think that this is going to be an interesting series. The score right now is the Timberwolves have come back. It's 47-37 right now at the time of this recording, getting ready to head into halftime. And I think that it's going to be 7, and I think that it's going to come down to this. A lot of people look at Minnesota and they look at the way that they've struggled since the trade or whatnot, but this team is actually pretty solid. They're averaging 110.8, which is the 6th best rating in the SWBA as far as defense is concerned. And so defensively, they're a lot better than what they seem. And then offensively, it's a top 10 unit at 115.7 is what they're averaging there. And so, I think that is going to present some problems for the Lakers because they're a balanced team. And on top of that, with Minnesota, what they have that the Lakers don't have is they have some size. And I think that might be the key to the series, because Anthony Edwards is going to do his thing. But then when you look at you got Julius Randle, you got Gobert, and then you have Naz Reid. Like, they have so much size, and that is really, I think, the issue with the Lakers. And why it's scary is because the Lakers don't have an interior. And so it suggests to me that if they cannot stop Anthony Edwards, he's knocking down 3-point shots, he's getting downhill, he's throwing lobs to these guys. I just think that they maybe wear them down a bit. But, with the LeBron James effect, it's tough to get him out in the first round. And so I hate to pick against the Lakers, man, but I kind of like the Timberwolves in 7 in this one. I think that this might be a shocker. So I'm taking the Timberwolves in 7. We'll see what happens there. And so next, I want to go ahead and jump into the last bit here, and that is going to be Kenny Atkinson. He is the coach of the year in the SWBA. And so, quickly going to give him, just his credit, man, because this is a Cavs team that, look, he got them a 16-game improvement from last season. So I think that speaks a lot to just what Coach Atkinson was able to do. And I think he's done a terrific job as far as opening up the offense. I think that's maybe something that, we're going to be really interested in looking at as they get set to start their playoff run tomorrow. And we'll be talking about the preview to that series. But I think that offensively, what he's really installed into this team, that might be the difference for the Cavs maybe getting out of the Eastern Conference. Now, I still like the Boston Celtics, but I do think that, look, it's going to be rocky, but with that offense, they're going to need it, especially as the game slows down. And so we'll see if that really gets the Cavs to another level. And you got to give him some credit because, he made some history with this Cavs team, because this is the first time since the 2009-2010 Cavs team with LeBron James that they had, 60-game winning season. And so you got to give him a ton of credit. So he wins the SWBA Coach of the Year. And so let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Do you agree with the fact that Coach Atkinson has won the SWBA Coach of the Year award? What did you think here about these games that took place today with, the Clippers and Denver? What were your key takeaways there? With the Bucks and the Pacers, how do you feel about that, knowing that Dame Lillard is set to be back, I believe, by game 3? What are you thinking here about the Pistons and the Knicks? had a lead going into the fourth, actually through the fourth, and the Knicks just took off with a huge run in the fourth. And so let me know what you're thinking there. And then let me know what's going on with these play-in situations. What were your thoughts there with the Hawks? Just ran into a defensive, I think a defensive clinic with what the Miami Heat were able to do. I mean, it was so interesting to see Trae Young get frustrated that way. And then what did you think about these Memphis Grizzlies taking care of business? And lastly, let me know what your thoughts are as the Lakers are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And currently right now, this game is in progress with the Timberwolves currently on top of the Lakers, 53-43. Once again, the Timberwolves are on the road for the first two games in this series. I talked about the height advantage and just the fact that they have the Ant-Man as well. And so I think that they get this done in 7. And so anyway, see the game, be the game. We'll be talking a little bit more as to some game previews for tomorrow. All right, take care. Peace.